All right, welcome back, everybody. Today, we are announcing our 13th annual Disruptor 50 list. The list highlights the game-changing private companies challenging the status quo. This year, AI is shaking up a range of industries, even defense tech. Julia Boortin has the top 5.
Number 5, Canva, an Australian graphic design startup that's generating $3 billion in annual revenue from 220 million monthly users.
We have an extraordinary community around the whole world in more than 190 countries.
Number 4, Anthropic. Its AI assistant Claude is popular with consumers and businesses, which are adopting its generative AI chatbots for sales, marketing, and customer service. Number 3, Databricks, one of the world's fastest growing software companies backed by tech giants, including Meta and NVIDIA. Databricks analyzes data for more than 10,000 customers. Number 2, OpenAI. With 500 million weekly active users, the ChatGPT maker expects revenue from its enterprise business to triple this year to nearly $13 billion. And number 1, Anduril, disrupting the defense contractor space dominated by massive incumbents. Its revenue doubling to $1 billion last year with a $30.5 billion valuation. Just last month, Anduril partnered with Meta to make AI-powered mixed reality headsets for the military.
I'm one of those crazy people who believes we're going to spend all of our lives, or at least a large chunk of our lives, looking at the world through, whether you call it AR, VR, augmented reality.
The 13th annual Disruptor 50 class is valued at $798 billion. That's far more than last year's $436 billion total, and that's due in large part due to the valuation of OpenAI. Enterprise tech is the top industry represented this year with 17 companies, and generative AI is an even bigger part of this year's list, with 21 of the companies telling us it is an essential part of their business. That's up from 13 companies who said that last year. So you can find the whole Disruptor 50 list at cnbc.com/disruptors. We will be interviewing a number of CEOs of companies on the list today, including Palmer Luckey, CEO of this year's number 1 on the list, Anduril. That's today on Closing Bell Overtime. I'm interviewing the CEO of Aura coming up in the 10 a.m. hour. So lots of great stuff today.
I don't know what this says, but I recognize so many more names than I feel like I've recognized in the past. These are names that we talk about all the time. These companies are bigger than ever. They have massive valuations on this scale. How has that changed and why?
Well, it's interesting because we actually have 20 newcomers to the list this year, and that's really because of the rise of generative AI and AI. And on one hand, there may be some companies you're less familiar with, like Harvey, which is a company that's using AI to disrupt the legal space. It's like an AI chatbot tool for lawyers. And then you also have these companies like Exotech, which are doing robotics for the logistics world. And then there are the ones that you are so familiar with.
Yeah.
Anthropic, OpenAI, the ones that are creating the enterprise tools that we use, Canva, that we use every day. And Canva's been around for a while.
Anduril, it's like all of these guys. I mean, listening to these names, are these companies just choosing to stay private for longer, and that's part of the reason for all of this? And man, there's so much money that has flown into these companies.
Well, I think
Stripe's
some of them.
Still on the list?
Stripe is still on the list. That's a perfect example of one that has chosen to stay private and not go public for quite a long time. But Canva is expected to go public in the next year or so. This is a company that recently hired a new CFO who had been the CFO of Zoom and helped that company go public. So I do think that we'll see a number of IPOs of companies on this list in the next year.
So AI, you keep mentioning that has changed the makeup. How has that really impacted things? And is it almost impossible to get on if you're not using AI?
Well, I think that technology is now in so many ways AI. And what we saw before this is there were a lot of different technologies that were in use, but because of the rise of the potential, the power of generative AI and AI in general, the companies on the list are either using AI for the most part or they've embraced AI. Just to go back to Canva, that's a design tool. It was simplifying design, and now what Canva has done is really put AI at the center of their tools to make sure you can use it for spreadsheets. You can really deploy it as a generative AI tool. And they've also partnered with the likes of ChatGPT. So we're either seeing a company like Anduril, defense tech company, embrace AI, or you're seeing these sort of AI-first companies be on the list.
So Anduril and OpenAI flipping spots. OpenAI was first last year. What happened to change because OpenAI does not seem any less relevant?
It is absolutely relevant, and OpenAI was number one on the list the prior 2 years. But we have Anduril in the number one spot, and that really speaks to the explosion of defense tech. We actually have a total of 4 defense tech companies on this year's list, and it represents a surge in funding going into these companies, the expectation
from the government,
but also funding
around in Europe and other places.
But also, we're seeing a surge in VC funding going into defense tech, with the expectation that the Defense Department here in the U.S. is going to continue to embrace these new alternative upstarts, if you will, in the defense space. And also a real interest in dual-use technology. We just saw this partnership between Meta and Anduril, where we're seeing the VR, AR headset capabilities that Meta has been investing in really coming into the defense space. So I think we're going to see a lot more focus on how new types of technologies can be embraced by the Defense Department.
Well, Julia, it's a fascinating list every year. We appreciate you bringing it in, and we look forward to a lot of these interviews later this morning.
Thanks so much, Becky.
Thank you.